So today I'm going to talk about the achievement gap. How I would describe it and how I read it in our readings is that the achievement gap refers to the disparity in academic performance between different groups of students. So this is relevant to my personal life because as like a future educator, hopefully, I have seen that a lot of teachers who are coming into the profession or who have been in the profession don't really know how to handle like the collection of students that they get. So, for example, they have like one curriculum, if you will, and they only stick to that. They don't look at all the kids in their class and how it could be different, like perceived differently for other students. Like, because everyone's not the same, so they won't be able to like take it the same way. Um, let's see. The reasoning. Okay, so a solution that I would do to, or that I would propose for the achievement gap would be to educate the incoming teachers because I feel like that's step one. I feel like step one is making sure that your teachers are educated on the different like ways that something can be taught and like closing that gap for them. So if you have one like grade A student, great, they're easy to teach because they get it and they want to. But if you have that student who like barely comes to class, barely shows up, you never hear from their family, then like that's a huge gap and you can't just ignore it. So a way that I would probably say, like a second way, is from the teachers, educating the teachers on how to handle that. Another way would be to get like the actual parents involved. So, like that grade 8 student, their parents are probably involved, or they're just like, my student's doing great, and or my kid's doing great, and like I don't really need to worry about them, which is fine. But the parents who have like the lower student, if you will, might not care. They might not be around. They might not be supportive of the student going to school. Whatever the reason is, I think that it's important to get the parents involved. That way, they put more, I don't know, like ownership over their own child, and the child wants to put ownership towards it too. So that would be another way. And so the having the teachers be more educated and the parents involved, which the parents will get the students and the teachers will get the students. So it all comes back down to the students because you can't like teach someone to read who doesn't want to read. You know what I mean? I think that's a saying. So anyway, so an obstacle that I might have is what I just said. Like if the student doesn't want to go, it's going to take a lot to try to get them to go. Like you can't want it for somebody else. And the same goes for the parents and the teachers. Like they can't want it for somebody else. So the first obstacle that you would face is like trying to get them on the same page. So that's the first obstacle, and the outcome that I would probably want from this is obviously to close that gap. So, in a perfect world, the teachers would come in knowing how to handle different students, different ranges, and closing that gap. And the parents or the guardians or the sisters, brothers, whoever is around will also want them, like their student, to do well. So, in a perfect world, that's happening. And in a perfect world, the student wants to go to class, wants to learn, wants to give it their all. But that's not the case. So, hopefully, what the heck am I trying to say? My outcome would be that they do want to. That all the work the teacher puts in, all the work that their parent, guardian, whoever puts in, like makes them realize, oh yeah, like I actually want to do this because then like they'll be proud or whatever the reason may be. That would be an awesome outcome for me and just closing that gap altogether. All right. So, let's see. Alright, so this is important to my community and to me personally because it allows for like smarter, more advanced, and brighter people. Like, don't you want to live in a world that's just like constantly progressing and coming up with new different ways to like do things, to live life? Like, I think if people don't go to school and don't get educated, it's harder to be like imaginative and like use that brain power that we're given. School allows that brain power to keep ticking and ticking and ticking, but without that school like starting it up, it's just hard to get people motivated, get people to do other things and just like work a 9 to 5 job that they don't really care about. So I think school and like educating these people and like closing that gap allows for more like creativity in the end. And I think that's really important to me personally because I have unfortunately seen like really lazy people who just drop out of school, who don't really have a support system, who like don't have any of that. And it kind of sucks for me to be around them because I'm in school, I work, and I teach, and I do all this stuff, and I love it. Like, that's what I want to do. And I think I surround myself with those kinds of people. Sorry. And I think that if we all kind of like want the best for everybody, then we all get the best. And I think that's the most important thing in closing this achievement gap is we're all human, so why not like all work together to make it our best like human lives. So that got a little off track, but thank you so much for watching and I really appreciate you being here.